right, let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals here for a little bit. Now that we're reaching the end of March, we can look back at what every team did this offseason through free agency, through this trade period, and see what teams made the smartest, most effective moves, maybe some under the radar decisions that will have a massive impact on that team's success in 2024 and beyond. And the Bengals made one move earlier this offseason that didn't get a lot of press, but I think will turn out to have a huge impact in terms of the scheme and strategical fit with the Cincinnati offense and Joe Burrow, and that is the addition of tight end Mike Gesicki. I think it was one of the more underrated moves in the entire offseason, and I got a few reasons why. First and foremost, let's pull up this analysis from PFF. It's just a couple sentences. Gesicki, over the past two seasons, with Miami in 2022 and with the New England Patriots in 2023, finished fourth, top four among all NFL tight ends in average depth of target, which means in terms of the average depth he was down the field every time he was targeted, fourth. He is a vertical threat tight end. That is his game. That's what he's known for. Now let's talk about what that means for the Cincinnati Bengals. We obviously know Ja'Marr Chase is a big-time vertical threat and playmaker in every way in his own right. T. Higgins, most likely still returning for 2024. We'll see what happens long-term, is as well. So with two deep vertical threats, what do teams do schematically? They play a two deep defense. And let's pull up an example of one, just a really simplified graphic in front of you guys here. And this shows exactly a cover two kind of look, very basic stuff here of what teams like to play against teams like the Bengals that have two great vertical threats. You can see those two safeties have the deep half to kind of intercept, to cut off Higgins and Chase threatening teams vertically, and they have five guys in underneath zones to cover anything short. The natural weakness in this coverage is, and you can see it on the screen there, is up the hashes, up the seams vertically, in between the deep safeties and the front zones, up the hash. That's up the seams there. You can see it right there. That's exactly where you want to attack, and that's exactly what Gesicki is known for. That's exactly his skill set. Again, top four in the NFL the past two seasons, especially last year with a terrible quarterback situation, and attacking defenses vertically. That's exactly what the Bengals will want to use him for going into 2024. And it'll put defenses in a lose-lose situations. If they play this two deep defense and try and cut off Higgins and Chase, they'll use Gesicki to threaten that defense vertically up the seam and just dice them all game long. If they change up the defense and go to maybe a one single high deep look, one single high safety look to try and eliminate that Gesicki threat, then Ja'Marr Chase will put up 200 yards on a lot of teams, right? The Bengals offense here with what they've done this offseason will put virtually every defense in just lose-lose situations all season long. I think this was a great move for the Bengals, one of the smartest moves, a big-time steal we've seen any team make this offseason. Myas, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. I know I've been talking for a little while now, but first, Cincinnati fans in the comment section below, I love the Gesicki move, but in the comment section below, give us what you think the most under the radar move was for Cincinnati this offseason. There's a lot of interesting ones. Give us the move that you think no one is talking about, but will have a big impact in the comment section below. But Myas, give me your thoughts on everything with Gesicki, the Bengals offense, and everything going forward for them.
Yeah, Nick, I think just the culmination of everything that Cincinnati has done offensively this season has really set them up well. They have the new tackle. I think the offensive line is much improved, something that has been a problem. I think Joe Burrow is going to have time. And so when you have time, you can let the play develop more, a la bringing in a guy, like you said, a burner up the middle, a guy who can dominate the seam, and Mike Gesicki. And I think Ja'Marr Chase, and likely it seems like T. Higgins as well, is going to be on the team. This is going to be an offense that is going to give people fits. It's like you said, Ja'Marr Chase and Higgins on the outsides are going to kill people. If you want to come down and try to stop them, then Gesicki, he's going to take it up the seam. I think this is beautiful because the Bengals really seem like they took a step back, and they've been doing this for the last couple of years. And they said, we are so close. There's so many things here that we have done really well, but there's just a couple things that are missing. Let's take a look and see what we needed to do. They really looked at their scheme and said, hey, what could we add to really just convolute the picture just a little bit more on the offensive side of the ball to open stuff up? Okay, we get a guy in the tight end position who can be a weapon down the middle of the field and attack something that people could play traditionally to kind of shut down our offense. That was a great option. Then they said, okay, what's the other big problem? And everybody, any Bengals fan in the world knows what the biggest problem is, and that is health. Keeping Joe Burrow healthy. All right, we're going to add another offensive lineman to the scheme as well. An offensive lineman who complements our scheme, who can do what we do very well. So I think the Bengals really are kind of thinking with their head now. They're not just like we talk about in when we do videos on college. We talk about teams like Texas A&M a team that just gathers talent. They just get players, they get them in there, get the most flashy name. No, the Bengals, they are trying to build a team that works cohesively together and fit their scheme the best. And I think this Gesicki pickup really just shows how well they are doing that. And I think we're going to see some pretty big results next season.
Yeah, and I think it's all about pivoting your strategy too, right? Because it's not just, okay, we're going to just try and fix some problems and get better. It's understanding what teams are going to do to stop you and coming up with schemes and personnel to counter that, right? Because obviously they moved on from Mixon. They now have Moss as their number one tailback. Most likely, we'll see how things shake out. So when you think about that, okay, Mixon was a bigger, more physical guy. Moss is a little bit smaller. Why would a team want to go from big to small? The reality is because, like we showed earlier, because teams like to play two deep coverages, the Bengals almost never face a really heavy box because of the threat of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, right? Because you're always facing lighter boxes to begin with, you don't necessarily need a guy who can be really physical, really strong to power through tight boxes, things like that. A Derrick Henry kind of guy, a Joe Mixon kind of guy, because it's already a light box, right? So you can take advantage of a guy who's a little smaller, who can create more options and do more things in terms of passing game, in terms of getting out on the edge a little bit more than Mixon did, because you're facing a lighter box, right? You talk about Trent Brown. He is known for being an elite pass protector, which will give Burrow that split second more time to hit these vertical seams to Gesicki, like we talked about, or to obviously, of course, to Higgins and Chase as well. So again, we're talking about an overall strategy, an overall theme here for the Bengals in terms of adjusting where they were, recognizing what defenses are doing to try and stop them, and pivoting in a direction to counter that, while also keeping their core pieces in place that no one can stop, like a Jamar Chase. Again, overall, the Bengals have had a really strong offseason. There's a clear strategy here that the Bengals are executing, but I think the Gesicki move, when we look back at the end of the 2024 season, will look like one of the best moves of the offseason. I think this is a huge impact addition to the Cincinnati Bengals.